Airblue Flight 202 was a scheduled domestic passenger flight which crashed on July 28, 2010 near Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, killing all 146 passengers and 6 crew on board. It is the deadliest air accident to occur in Pakistan to date. The aircraft, an Airblue-operated Airbus A321-231 narrow-body jet airliner, crashed in the Margalla Hills north of Islamabad during a flight from Karachi's Jinnah International Airport to Benazir Bhutto International Airport. Air traffic controllers reportedly lost contact with the flight crew during its attempt to land in dense fog and heavy monsoon rain. The accident was the first fatal crash involving an Airbus A321, a long variant of the Airbus A320 family of short to medium-range airliners. It was the deadliest accident involving the type until Metrojet Flight 9268 crashed in Egypt in 2015, killing 224 people on board. Based in Islamabad, Airblue is Pakistan's second-largest airline, with over 30% share of the domestic market. At the time of the accident, the airline operated 7 aircraft, all in the A320 family. The accident was the second deadliest aviation incident in 2010, behind Air India Express Flight 812. Aircraft: the aircraft that crashed was an Airbus A321-231, registered APBJB, manufacturer's serial number 1218, which was built in 2000. This was the first fatal crash for the A321, and the second hull loss of the type. The aircraft had originally been delivered to Aerolloyd and used by Aeroflight before being taken up by Airblue in 2006. It had accumulated more than 35,000 flight hours in some 13,500 flights. The aircraft was previously struck by lightning on December 30, 2008. Accident: the flight left Karachi at 7:41 local time. Flight controllers at Benazir Bhutto International Airport lost contact with the aircraft at 9:41 local time. Weather conditions at the time were marginal, and the captain of a China Southern airliner had diverted to an alternate airport 30 minutes earlier. The aircraft approached Islamabad from the southeast, following a procedure that required it to fly toward the airport until making visual contact. It was then to have flown around the airport to the east and north, keeping within a distance of 5 mi, until lining up with runway 12, which faces toward the southeast. The aircraft crashed in the mountains outside the 5 mi radius, approximately 8 mi north of the airport, facing almost due west, before it could line up with runway 12 for final approach. While the BBC reported that officials stated that there was nothing in conversations between the pilot and the Islamabad control tower that suggests anything was wrong, multiple EGPWS terrain ahead warnings were recorded on the cockpit voice recorder starting 40 seconds before the crash. The first officer was also heard requesting to the captain, "Sir, turn left, pull up, sir. Sir, pull up." The pilots did not send any emergency signals prior to the crash. Pakistani Interior Minister Rehman Malik stated that the plane was at 2,600 feet as it approached Islamabad but went back up to 3,000 feet before eventually crashing. The altitude of 2,600 feet was above the safe minimum descent altitude above sea level, or 852 feet above ground level, had the aircraft remained within the 5 mi radius of the airport. One witness on the ground, who was out walking, stated that the plane had lost balance, and then we saw it going down. Others described the plane as being lower than it should have been. "I wondered why the plane wasn't flying higher as it was flying towards the hill," one stated. "Then within 3 or 4 minutes I heard a loud explosion." Another said that it was raining. "I saw the plane flying very low from the window of my office." Imran Abbasi told the New York Times that he could tell it was trouble because it stayed so low even though the mountains were up ahead. He stated that the jet was flying as low as a 4-story building. It was reported that Abbasi said that as the aircraft started to turn, the right side of its front banged into the highest mountain, emitting an instant billow of blue fire and black smoke. The plane was found near Damani Cove viewing point in the Margalla Hills outside Islamabad. The Los Angeles Times reported that television footage of the crash site showed smoke and burning debris strewn in a swath cutting through the forest. Rescue helicopters hovered overhead. Fire was visible, and smoke was blowing up from the scene. The weather conditions 19 minutes after the accident, as detailed by the 0500 UTC-METAR report for Benazir Bhutto International Airport, were as follows: wind from 90 degree at 18 knots. Visibility 3.5 kilometers, rain, scattered clouds at 1,000 feet, few clouds at 3,000 feet, overcast at 10,000 feet. Temperature 25 degrees Celsius, dew point 24 degrees Celsius. QNH 1006.9 h/par. A. Passengers and crew, there were no survivors. Pakistani footballer Misha Dawood, 19, of Diyal Football Club, Karachi, and former national athlete Zafar Salim, who was Director General of the Sindh Workers' Welfare Board, were among those killed in the crash. The 62-year-old captain of Flight 202, Pervez Iqbal Chaudhry, had 35 years and more than 25,000 hours of flying experience, with an unblemished flight safety record. The comparatively junior First Officer Muntajab Ahmed, a former F-16 Pakistan Air Force fighter pilot, had logged 1 year of experience on the Airbus A321 aircraft. Of the passengers, 110 were men, 29 were women, 5 were children, and 2 were infants. 6 members of the Youth Parliament of Pakistan were on board, as were 3 off-duty air hostesses, and 4 foreign nationals. Nationalities of passengers equals. Rescue attempts. A local police official stated that he had reports that the plane fell into the Margalla Hills. There is smoke, but we have not been able to reach there. It is surrounded by the hills and there is no road access. An army helicopter arrived to survey the crash site at 10:30 local time but was not able to land. All 152 passengers have been confirmed dead. All hospitals in Islamabad were declared in a state of emergency. One person present at the scene of the crash stated that the passengers are badly mutilated and burnt. And there are 2 women among the dead. He told journalists that a good number of rescue workers have reached the site. Other people have reached here on their own. The plane is totally destroyed. The pieces and parts scattered over a large distance. Some parts of the plane are still burning. Some bushes have been burnt. It was reported that rescuers at the crash site were digging through the rubble with their bare hands. A senior city government official stated that the rescue operation was very difficult because of the rain. Most of the bodies are charred. We're sending body bags via helicopters. It was reported, however, that the rescue operation was chaotic. BBC journalist Ziashia Zafar reported that there were fewer rescue workers there than one would have expected. A majority of them were members of the anti-terrorism police. Most of them just stood around, gazing at the burning debris, and looking as though there was not much that they could do. He stated that a police officer threatened to baton charge rescuers if they did not move quickly. Zafar reported that just when the rescuers were shuffling to get to work, a policeman in plain clothes announced that an army helicopter was coming in to pour water on the fire, and that everyone should get out of the way. The work stopped. The helicopter came, circled on the spot a couple of times, and went away. No water. Zafar went on that it was distinctly obvious that there was no coordination between the workers of different departments such as the police, the rescue department, the Capital Development Authority and the military. Rescuers operated in a chaotic manner, scouring through the debris that was not on fire. During the 2 hours that I stayed at the scene, I saw rescuers collect 3 separate loads of body parts which they tied up in shrouds. There was no telling how many people they belonged to. Reaction. A statement on Airblue's website stated that Airblue, with great sadness, announces the loss of Flight ED-202 inbound from Karachi to Islamabad. The flight crashed during poor weather and thick fog. We regret the loss of life and are investigating the exact circumstances of this tragedy. This will be presented as soon as possible. The statement continued that our hearts go out to the families and loved ones of the passengers and crew. The compensation estimation process for the victims by Airblue's insurer began on July 30, 2010, with initial estimates of Rs 1 million per victim. Both the Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari and Prime Minister Yousuf Reza Gilani sent condolences to the family of those who died in the accident. The Pakistani government declared July 29, 2010 would be a national day of mourning and announced compensation of Rs 500,000 to the family of every victim. U.S. President Barack Obama issued a statement confirming that 2 Americans had been on the flight and expressing condolences and stated that our thoughts and prayers go out to all of those touched by this horrible accident. The Airblue management decided that a monument would be built with the names of the victims inscribed onto it to honor the dead. Investigation. The Civil Aviation Authority immediately launched an investigation into the accident. Airbus stated that they would provide full technical assistance to Pakistani authorities. A 6-member Airbus team, headed by Nicholas Bhutto, the company's director of flight safety, arrived in Islamabad on July 29, 2010. The aircraft's flight recorders were located on July 31, when Junaid Amin, the Director General of the Pakistan Civil Aviation Authority, told AFP that the investigating committee found the black box from the Margalla Hills this morning. The black box was found from the bulk of the wreckage of the crash plane. He stated that the box would be examined by foreign experts in Germany or France as Pakistan does not possess the equipment to decode the flight recorders. He also stated that the process of extracting information may take 6 months to a year. The Pakistani authorities decided to send the CVR and FDR to the Bureau d'enquête et d'analyses pour les arts copyright curator copyright de l'aviation civile in France. The report issued by Pakistan's Civil Aviation Authority in November 2011 cited a lack of professionalism in the cockpit crew along with poor weather as primary factors in the crash. In particular, the report noted that the captain ignored or did not properly respond to a multitude of air traffic control directives and automated terrain warning systems. The report also claimed that the first officer passively accepted the captain's actions, after the captain on multiple occasions took a harsh, snobbish and contrary tone with the first officer and berated him. Representatives of family members of passengers on the flight questioned the validity of the report and the qualifications of those who carried out the investigation. See also: Accidents and incidents involving the Airbus A320 family, American Airlines Flight 965, Air Inter Flight 148, Kogalomavia Flight 9268, another A321 which crashed in Egypt, all 224 people confirmed death. Armavia Flight 967, Boj Air Flight 213, crashed in Islamabad on April 20, 2012. References. Notes: Note AMETA raw data, OPRN 28050Z09018KT3500 RASCTO10 SCTO30 OVC100 FEWO 3025/24Q1006.9, 1. External links: ABQ 202. Pakistan Civil Aviation Authority, Final Report, Comments, Airblue website, Accident Description at the Aviation Safety Network, Passenger List for ABQ 202. The Times of India. July 28, 2010. Retrieved July 28, 2010. Lucky escape for 12 would-be passengers, the last words of victims of Airblue Flight ED 202, BBC Urdu.